I'm Ralph Needham. I'm pleased to welcome you here to see our cattle again. This is in the summer of 2018. In point of fact, it's the 23rd of July. We're in an unprecedented dry period, certainly the driest period we've had since 1976, and the media would say probably the driest since the end of the Second World War. So you'll see these cattle as they are now, and I will start to walk amongst them and I'll be able to identify a few of them. The cow behind me is a cow called Elisa, 631, the highest ranking cow in the herd on breed plan. She's 3/4 Swedish, and indeed this is one of the features of the herd, that with few exceptions every animal is Swedish bred. Most of the cows in this particular group are certainly half Swedish, several are 3/4, and as we move around there'll be several calves that will be 7/8 Swedish. So looking at Eliza, and indeed several of these other cows, she was sired by a bull from Sweden called Carlson from Anders Wicklet. The bull behind me now is from Simon Torp. This is Simon Torp Houdini. A fantastically successful bull. He was born in 2012. An incredibly easy calving bull. Superb temperament, as you can see, and of course he's homozygous polled. Get a bit of an idea of the height of the bull. See, this is really a big bull, and he's passed this feature onto his calves. As we move around the cows, you'll see a noticeable feature with them is that they are all particularly placid. This cow here, 750, called Hazel. Hazel was born in 2014, sired by Carlson, and we shall pick up another of her calves later on called Molly. And you'll see how wonderfully quiet all of these animals are, and it's certainly a feature of all the Swedish cattle. Indeed, when I was in Sweden a couple of weeks ago, this was quite apparent with all the herds that we went round there. So you can see this is a very, very hot morning. The temperature now must be around about 24 degrees. The thing we shall see with these cows, looking at the eyelids, or the eyelashes I should say, and you'll see here the amount of hairs on the top eyelid are indicative of the poll status. And really, wherever I walk amongst these cattle, you can see just how incredibly quiet and placid all of them are. This cow here, a very, very good breeding cow, produced some excellent bulls. Her name is Fondy. Milks very, very well. She's sired by Carlson, so she's obviously half Swedish. Then as I move around them, most of these calves, incidentally, as we go around, are sired by Houdini, the bull that you've just seen. (752), another cow sired by Famous. There's no question these calves are just starting to suffer a bit from the lack of grass. It hasn't rained here now for 6 weeks. In spite of that, the cattle, particularly the cows, seem to be standing the drought very, very well, as you can see by the condition. The oldest cow in the herd is this one behind me. This cow is called Connie. She is now 12 years old. She's the sire of Cockerington herdsman, and this is a bull that you can buy semen from, that the semen is available pretty well on a worldwide basis. A very, very good breeding cow indeed. The mother was Tilly, and as you can see that even at this age that she's holding a condition very, very well. So that's the oldest cow in the herd by about 2 years over anything else. Again, there's quite a nice bull calf just coming through here. These calves, incidentally, were in the main born in late February and March. Now we're back again to Eliza here, coming around this side. So this pretty well is the first group of cows and calves. These incidentally are grazing on a field of permanent grass, probably been grass for at least 200 years. I'm not sure if the camera will pick it up, but this is what's known as Highland Riggan forest. So the history of this was that originally it was ploughed in strips, and in those days the ploughing was brought into the centre because of course they could only plough one direction, and that's how you get the ridges. So that's that particular group, and now we'll move on to another group. I now move on to another batch. We've got 15 two-year-old heifers here, along with some heifers that calve for the first time this year. This is right at the forefront of our breeding now. For example, this heifer I'm coming to now, this one is called Molly. She is sired by Aspen Famous, and her mother was by Carlson. So she is 3/4 Swedish, and obviously she'll be in calf to the bull we're going to show you in a minute, Simon Torp Maribou, and that will make her calf 7/8 Swedish. Now this epitomises very much the sort of thing that we're looking for with these cattle. First and foremost, excellent temperament. The second thing is we've got size, and we've got length with these cattle. Certainly got shape, good legs, good bodies, and this really was so typical to the cattle that I was seeing at Simon Torp a couple of weeks ago. The temperament of all these, as I mentioned earlier, is just superb, and you can see this is going to make a really big cow. Remember, she's just over 2 years old now. Super cow. Now, a lot of these animals in this particular group are bred exactly the same way, that they are 3/4 Swedish, and then we'll be coming in then to this next bull we're going to show you. 1054 there, that was sired by Aspen Famous out of a cow by Carlson. And looking over here with another heifer here, this is by Famous. And the one on the back side, I'm pretty sure that's by Houdini. bull that you've just seen. So as we move through these, bearing in mind that a lot of these are 2-year-old heifers, again polling on all of these very, very strong indeed. Many of these females will be homozygous. Now we're coming down to the bull Simon Thorpe Maribou, a 2-year-old bull that we've just using for the first time this year. Characteristics exactly the same as the rest of them. Super temperament, as you can see. The thing we like about Maribou is that he's very, very long. Look at that length there. He's not going to make the biggest bull you've ever seen. In this particular instance, we're not wanting the biggest bull. What we're wanting is to get this length, and we've got some shape in the backside here. We're not looking for excessive rounds here. What we're wanting is adequate going down the second thigh, but I can't stress how important it is to have this length. The other thing we're looking for as well is neat shoulders. And you'll see that the shoulders on this animal are put on very, very neatly, and if you neat shoulders you'll have neat hips, and of course that goes with easy carving. So Maribou is the 4th Swedish bull that we've got, and we have another younger one, a yearling bull called Nanook, which will coming into play next year. The calf here, 1156, I'll just check on what it's by, and that one is sired by one of our own bulls called Jules, who was that was born incidentally middle of January, and Jules was sired by Famous. So as I walk through some of these, and again the same criteria applies to the others you've seen. Very, very hot this morning. You'll see flies everywhere. It must be a real pain to these cattle with flies. The other cows that are here suckling the calves are all young cows suckling the first calf, and majority of these cattle will be at least 3/4 Swedish. So there we are, that's that particular group, and we shall now move on and we shall see another group of younger heifers. We've now come to a batch of yearling heifers. These are heifers that were born, some were only just over a year ago, and the oldest they'll be at this stage around about 17 months. These are all sired by Askham Famous or Simon Thorpe Houdini. And again, you can see how incredibly quiet all these cattle are. So easy to deal with, easy to work with. Hello girl, now then. Come on then. And as I said earlier, this is just one of the features of these Swedish bred cattle. They're not only excellent conformation, but they're just incredibly easy to handle and deal with. None of these have had any special attention whatsoever. It's just exactly how they are. This is quite a nice heifer here. This one is by Houdini. I'll just move forward, you can see a bit about her length then. This heifer here will be, if I look at the notes I can tell you exactly what her age is. This one is actually a January one, born the end of January and side by Houdini. Incidentally, she's out of the first calf heifer, side by Famous. And really, having cattle like this that normally yearling heifers, one would expect them with most breeds to be quite excitable, particularly on a day like this when it's hot and it's gleamy. But again, you can see exactly what this group of animals are like. Just very, very easy to deal with. And of course the overriding feature is that, as we know, that when we come to calving from these is exceptionally easy. In point of fact, this year we're on 100% calving, and at present we've had 69 calves from 69 cows with no twins. Half the business of handling cattle is to handle cattle that are placid, and as I probably keep repeating myself, it's just a joy to be dealing with animals like this. We've now moved into the yard where we house the bulls, and these are bulls that will be for sale at the end of the year and certainly into the spring of 2019. All of these bulls here that you'll see are either side by Simon Tobb Houdini or by one of our own bulls called Cockerington Jeff, who was a son of Askham Famous. So these bulls are just going through very much the growing stage. We like to sell the bulls out much closer to 2 years of age. The next group here are much younger bulls. These are 7-8 months old, and I'll get into the pen here. And this is a young bull that's come from Per Martinson, Simon Top, Nanook. A bull we like very, very much indeed. Got all the characteristics. Incidentally, this bull was born the 29th of March 17. Very, very good weight figures. In point of fact, his weight figures, because we put him on performance alongside our other spring bulls, and he was showing an advantage of some 65 kilos over and above the best of our own bulls. This bull is homozygous, and you can see he's just got a lovely temperament, easy, really easy to deal with. Now then, there. So then as we move down into the next pen, these bulls now are averaging 15 months to 17 months old. And again, these are all sired by either Simon Torp Houdini or Cockerington Jeff. So that's just a taster of the bulls that will be for sale later in the year. So you've seen the balance of all the herd from the breeding cattle right through to the finished article, which are the young bulls. Thank you for looking at what we have to show you.